Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest with me, Philippa. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Welcome. First time on my show. Philippa's a mindset and grief coach. We've been communicating over IG, so it's been nice to finally meet and connect. And hopefully, depending on your experience after this, we can do a few more collaborations on video. So fingers crossed it goes okay.
Positive vibes. Yes, it will.
All about positive vibes.
100%.
So it's all about 2022 last year and kind of our experiences and what we learned this video. What did you learn from last year? What was your learnings? What did last year teach you?
So last year, 2022, was a really transformational year for me, actually, personally. A lot happened. So in May, I decided to give up alcohol.
Wow.
And as you know, alcohol is a big part of our society. It's kind of ingrained from us from a young age. It's just what you do. But yes, in May 2022, I just decided one night at 2 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and thought, I've been having these heart palpitations. I won't go too much into it, but basically I had a fourth baby and I had ectopic ventricular heartbeats, which just means when your heart's beating, so like two of your beats in your chambers are beating so fast that it hits the climax and it makes you faint. So that was going on quite a lot. Had to take medication. I was hospitalized. So that was fine. That was all due to pregnancy. But after that, my heart went back to the normal beating rate. But with alcohol, I noticed that the palpitations, I could feel them again.
Okay.
So I think that created that worry of, okay, am I going to get to that point that I'm drinking? Where, how far can I take this until I pass out? And obviously I don't want to pass out. So yeah, that was going on. And that happened about 3 times in 3 situations that I couldn't trust my body more than anything to look after me. And that's scary when you don't know, how far you can push it. And I thought, so I woke up to and I thought, what is actually the purpose of drinking alcohol other than having that tipsy feeling and, doing the mad things that you usually do? I mean, I'm quite not crazy, but I'm quite an energetic, positive person. Anyway, I don't drink alcohol. But we all quite like to drink, or I quite like to drink. But I thought, there's more cons than there is pros. And then I thought, God, could I actually give up drink? Could I actually do this? Because that's quite a scary thought. And I thought that it just shows you how much, not that you're addicted to alcohol, but it's become a habit, part of your routine.
Yeah.
So I like a bit of a challenge, and I thought, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for myself, for my health, and more importantly, my children. I'm a mother of 4. And I thought, I don't want to get myself into states where, my heart effectively stops beating because of alcohol. So yeah, I gave it up. So with giving that up, I've now been over 8 months sober. So I'm very proud.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I just can't see me going back, really. There's just been so much clarity. And I know that sounds dramatic, but when you give up alcohol, you just have a sense of clarity and a gratitude towards life. Now, I already had a sense of gratitude anyway through losing my mum through grief, and you go through amazing transformations that way, and it comes after a period of time when you're in that healing process. But it gave me a sense of clarity, and then I started thinking, who am I? I've not got alcohol. I'm not drinking alcohol in my spare time. It kind of what controls you, but it has a hold over you. And then I thought, well, I need to find something that I love more than alcohol. That's something that I can do with my time. So then I started investing time into studying.
Okay.
Do you know what? Like what you said, one of the things I want to leave behind is, not only alcohol, but it's that that identity that I had with my current job.
Okay.
Back then, but I still am. I'm a police officer. And I'm still employed as a police officer, but I'm on a career break. But when you're a police officer, you get that identity. And if you've worked for that so many years, people tend to, describe who they are by their titles rather than their characteristics. Do you know what I mean? Who are
100%.
you? Well, I'm a fireman. I'm
Yeah.
a business, I'm a policewoman, this and that. And that kind of becomes a hold of you. And then the more I had a break from that and, a realization of, stopping alcohol, I thought, I don't know if I want to be that person anymore. And who do I really want to be? And this is why, I've gone on to do life coaching now, because I've always had a huge interest in the psychology of how we work, but also, speaking to yourself. Like now, I love speaking to humans, that human interaction. I want a deeper level of helping someone, not just to, arresting people and, what we do to help our society. Don't get me wrong, policing is a fantastic job and we look after our community. But I wanted to take it to that next step of looking at the cause of and helping the people of the cause of and why they get into those situations, and particularly the well-being of humankind. So yeah, I started studying. I had a little baby, still got a little baby now. I started studying, which I probably wouldn't have done. And I did a counselling course, life coaching course, British Sign Language, because I lost part of my hearing during COVID. And as a result of later last year, I thought, no, I'm going to make my own business. I'm going to become a life coach because I've got the passion and I want to do it. So yeah, so one thing I left behind was learning that, just because you've grown up with a kind of sense of identity of, who you are, it doesn't mean that you can't change that. Whatever age or ability you have, you can be who you want to be. It's about making that effort. And I think, like I've reiterated, is making simple changes like habits of not drinking can make significant life changes. And that's what I feel like happened to me in 2022. Yeah, there's quite a few things that happened, I think. And the more you learn about, the more I've studied life coaching, etc., you start to really look into, how people work and your self-worth.
Yeah.
You start to think about that yourself and think, hang on a minute, look at what you're worth, your worthiness. So another thing I would say that I've learned from 2022 is learning about relationships and what value they bring for you. And what I mean by that is like relationships or friendships that aren't mutually beneficial. Yeah. I think I'm starting to learn that perhaps I can walk away from them. Life is so busy for all of us. And I'm you've heard of me talk before about the inner circle.
Yeah.
I'm very much in my world, I have a few people that I truly trust.
Yeah.
And that trust me. And I remember my mum saying, I don't know if your mum ever said to you, when you grow up, you'll have five friends only on one hand. And I'm like, really, mum? And I was like, in a tribe of 20 of us that used to go around and,
yeah.
And then as you get older, you think, do you know what? That phrase is true. You do have a selective few that you really trust in your life. And I think I'm learning now that you don't have to be friends with everybody. Yes, you can be respectful and kind, but I think friendships that don't bring you value, they don't, give you encouragement to be who you are or create positive drive or impact and give you, like what you said about the inner peace, and that in your head are going to be short term, then why invest? Why invest in them? And that sounds, as harsh as that sounds, some people just aren't for you. And I'm accepting that now.
Oh, 100%. Definitely. And also for the new year, do you do resolutions, or have you any plans and actions for the new year?
Yes, I do. This is another thing I'm learning as well, because we're all learning. So normally I do resolutions. Normally we have a bit of fun. I do it with whoever we're with. And I was one for, doing the resolutions, writing them down, and then kind of forgetting about them.
Yeah.
And not referring to them. So whether they happened or not, I could never really tell you because I didn't go back to them. However, now I'm starting to think, right, they have got a purpose, and, goals do give us, encouragement through life to do what we want to do and get us to a destination and keep us moving and keeping us growing. I did make some goals. I planned to make a few, and then I got a bit carried away. I was like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. But, you know, some of them are, you know, priority, which is, you know, pushing myself a little bit more, being more adventurous, which I have done. I've signed up to do that abseiling of
Wow.
170-meter building, and I know that's going to be like, so I'm going to face my fear and just jump off the building anyway. So I'm going to do that in May. And like I said, visiting London more, just visiting places that I want to go, because at the end of the day, you know, we have one life, and there are certain things that I want to do over the course of my life. I don't know when that's going to end. I have no shame in talking about, you know, mortality. And I just want to each year just tick a couple of things off. Be realistic, because you can't do everything in one time. So yeah, I have got a few goals. What about you?
Me, I'm see, the thing is, the resolution thing, I've stopped doing it because like you said, you kind of disregard it and then forget about it completely. You have all these massive expectations for a new year, and a lot of the time I was setting unrealistic expectations of what I could achieve. So it was about being a bit more smarter about what I'm setting. So it's a new year and we're going into a new year, but like month on month, week on week, I have goals anyway. So it's not like that's changed anything because it's a new year. It's just another month, a new month and a new year for this month, January, that I want to set goals for myself. So that's what I do. I have my SMART objectives on my wall in my studio. So I follow that, and they're all very realistic as well. And even if you got to be really realistic about, you know, time frames, and if you don't quite achieve them, so it's that self-talk, isn't it? It's being kind to yourself. So it's not like you really get down on yourself if you don't achieve the goals. All you do is move it on to the next week or the next month, and so it keeps
100%.
going.
Yeah, don't put pressure on yourself. No one should put pressure on themselves. But I think, like you said, it's important to know that just because it's a new year, it doesn't mean that, you know, this is the time to do it. You can do it whenever. But I think what's quite nice about the new year, and what I quite like about making New Year's resolutions, is it's kind of like a unity. Like, you know, that everybody's kind of doing it together.
Yeah,
And I think
no, it's true.
special about that.
Yeah.
So for people to make goals, you know, they don't have to feel like they're on their own, and everybody's kind of talking about it. And, you know, obviously it's got to be personalized to you, but you can get some ideas and think, yeah, I know, you know, we can collaborate. And so I think there is something special about doing that. And also it does give you that time frame of a year. I like to look back at the end of the year and think,
definitely reflect.
yeah, but like you said, it doesn't matter. You can do them on a weekly, monthly basis. But yeah, I do think goals definitely are important for you more than anything, to know where you stand and what you want to do.
Yeah, and like you said, we need that motivation. It keeps us moving forwards, which is all about, and so we don't remain stagnant. I mean, and at the end of the day, you know, we like to evolve, you know, and learn from that. That's why I like reflecting on previous years and learnings, because you want to grow and learn from it and move forwards. And I'm always thinking that way. So that's why I like to do videos like this.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so important. Like you say, we all have life lessons, and I think naturally we grow anyway. But if you don't use those lessons to your advantage, I think it's so easy to have that feeling of being stuck. Hence the fact of, you know, what I'm doing, what I coach. You know, you have that feeling of feeling stuck. How do I move forward? You know, where do I go from there? And that's horrible. That is a horrible.
It is.
And I really empathize with anybody who feels like that. Seriously, it's, you know, you just feel lost in your head, lost in your, you know, physical, mental sense. And it's not kind, it's not nice. And I think what I would say to people is, you know, if there's a problem, there's always a solution. There is always a way. There is always a way. And there is people out there, people like myself, other fantastic coaches, other professional services, charities that are there to pull you out from that dark place, you know, and set you on a road of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel again. And that sounds so cheesy, but I really mean that. And we've all been there. You know, I've been in a dark place. Like I said to you, I've been in a dark place when I lost my mum. I think I probably lost, with no exaggeration, 4 years of just being numb. And so back now, I think, what was I actually doing? I don't really know. I can't really tell you. I was just existing. I don't think my brain was functioning. I was just, existing on a day-to-day basis. And at that time, I probably really needed help.
Yeah.
But, when you're so numb, you rely on people around you to pick you up, to know and to push you in that sense direction of, where you're going to go, what you're going to do. It's so easy to fall off track. It really is.
100%.
22. My goodness. It was a big year for most. For me, it was a lot of like more diving deeper into self-reflection. Next layer into how to empower oneself. If I want to continue this beautiful journey of empowering other people, I myself must learn to have new ways to empower myself, because sometimes the old ways don't work anymore, or they're just not relevant. And growing with everything. So I found myself in business all by myself, entrepreneurship for the first time.
Wow.
It was a very scary, like, I don't know if I could do this. Everything was like, holy crap. I think one of the biggest things I learned about entrepreneurship is that your business is directly correlated to who you are inside. So, for example, if I am out of integrity and I'm not doing the things, but I'm preaching the things, it's out of alignment. And that will show in the results of being successful, financially, relationships, all of it. And most times people don't realize that there is a connection.
Yeah.
So on a grander scale, I think last year, 2022, as we sit in the 2023 energy, was really about just getting real and connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Because I'm being taught, I'm like always with my mindset coach, love her to death. It's like, you can't lead beyond where you have led yourself.
I hear you.
So sometimes people, myself included, all last year kind of felt like an imposter, got that imposter syndrome going on. And I couldn't put my finger on it until I had that moment of, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do, nor am I doing the things I'm preaching to others to the degree, there was like sometimes yes, sometimes no. Yeah. But it's like, she always says, you can't be half pregnant, meaning you're either in or you're out. Make a choice, but you can't have both. So you can't sit in victim and try to be a leader. You can't complain about everything that's going wrong in your life and have abundance and prosperity and all the beautiful things. It does not work. And I think that was the real piece around just being authentic with self. Because as you said earlier, I am very authentic online. How I am online is exactly how who you would get in a conversation like this. So, which is great, but the little subtlety was for me inside of myself. Am I being true to me? Am I being true and authentic with self? Meaning, just simple things. It could be like someone asked me to go do something. I don't really have the time, but I'm going to muster and squeeze in the time to make them happy, knowing it's going to set me back and make me ultimately not happy.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. So all of those kinds of things, just really definitely leaving that behind. And she always says, my mindset mentor, Miss Adele Tevlin. She's amazing. Check her out if anyone needs a little kick in the pants. She always says, what does she say? Authenticity is like the new currency, which I totally get now. I totally get that. Like years beyond years ago, when I started personal development, I was like the nice girl. I was doing this, I was doing that. And then my coach would always tell me, she's like, you're inauthentic. But I was always programmed to be the nice.
Yeah.
And then she would say nice is the new nasty, because nice doesn't always equal authenticity.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like, if you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, that's you being nice, but that's not authentic because you don't want those things. And it's okay. And I think this was another big aha moment, was give yourself permission to be human. Nobody's perfect. Even y'all perfectionists out there trying to get it right and all the things. I'm going to tell you something. Even when you're like a multi-million-dollar earner, you still don't know what the heck you're doing.
It's true.
So relieve yourself from that pressure. As I say this, I'm saying it to myself too, because, good reminder. But those are all definitely things I would love to leave. I am leaving, have left even in 2022. So thank you for
too many people to have, not allowing so many people to have access to me. That way they don't drain my energy, my vibes, all that stuff. So I would have to say that would probably be my biggest lesson.
Yeah. So what do you want to leave behind in 2022?
All the crap. All the negativity, it could stay back there. I only want to bring in good vibes, love, happiness, positivity. That's it. All the negative, all the heartbreak, everything can stay back there. I don't want it this year.
I hear that. Do you make New Year's resolutions, Shannon?
I usually do, but this year I decided not to. The only resolution that I decided to make was to make this year better than last year. That's it.
I like that.
Because every time I try to do a resolution, I never stick to it. So this year I was like, you know what, I'm not going to bother. I'll just make this year better than last year.
I like that. It's difficult though, ain't it? Because you see so many people around you saying, oh yeah, let's make these big goals. But I'm the same like you. I've decided not to have a New Year's resolution. But, I look at it as it's another month. Yes, it's a new year, but it's another month I need to make plans and achieve goals. So rather than making it a bigger issue, I'm seeing it as just another month and another month to focus and try and achieve stuff. But within that, also being very realistic with my goals that I set myself. And also with that, being very kind to myself. So not beating myself up if I don't achieve them. So
exactly. That's a good point to have, because we are, after all, our worst critics. And if we are hard on ourselves and we talk down to ourselves, that's not really doing us any good. We should speak positivity, speak kindness to ourselves. That way, and it's okay for us not to reach those goals. It's okay, try again tomorrow, try again next week, try again next month. It's failure is not really failure if you continue to try. Do you get me? Yeah. So, you can't give up. At the end of the day, there's only improvement.
Yeah, I totally agree. And those words like failure and things like that, I don't use them anymore because I don't like them.
Exactly.
I think it's very, that whole thing of like failure can seem like that's it and there's no like comeback. They're like, you're done, you're finished type thing.
Exactly.
I see failure as sounding like that. So as you said, it's just about trying, isn't it? At least you tried. I'd always want to try than not, because I think that's where you're more disappointed in yourself, is that you haven't even tried. You haven't even attempted.
Exactly.
Yep,
100%.
You're trying to go for, rather than, you know, doing something and not achieving it. I think that's a better way, rather than doing nothing at all. So I would always have that ahead of anything. And life's a journey, isn't it? So we can all learn, whether we succeeded in what we wanted to. You're still learning. It's a process, isn't it? It's all about the journey.
100%.
That's where the biggest learnings come from.
Yeah. And just putting yourself out there and not giving up is such a huge thing. And I know that a lot of people, you know, with everything that's gone on in society, with all the, you know, uncertainty and all that stuff, it's easy for people to just give in and give up and not want to. But at the end of the day, you can't give in. You have to give up. You have to push through. You have to continue to you know, do what you have to do at the end of the day. And you know, it's hard, but you just have to.
Yeah, you just have to. And I think there was a saying, I think that, you know, I'm trying to put this together in my head, but it was something to do with, the only reason we don't achieve our goals is because we give up on them. So, you know, sometimes us as human beings always make excuses for why we didn't achieve something. But the reason why, because it's like, you will find a way, the more passion and effort you put into something, I believe it creates a way for yourself to get there, because it's not giving up on it. And a lot of these goals, we give up on them, and it's rather than it being a reason. And sometimes there is obstacles, but it's like anything in life, you know, your persistence and or finding a way to maneuver around that obstacle is your way forward. So I think that's the same with goals. So, you know, like you said, never give up and keep on chasing them, and I think you will get there. I think that's what it's all about. It's a mindset, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely. And I think that's the biggest thing, is not to live so much in our mind and let our mind play tricks on us, and let our mind you know, tell us that we can't do it when we really can. Just turn off the noise. You know, I know that sometimes we go through things and we sometimes feel like we can. We just have to have faith in ourselves and know that no matter what, we can push through it. And that to me is like a big deal. There's been so many times, like last year, that, I mean, you I'm sure you know, with everything that I had gone through last year, there were many times that I wanted to give up. Many times that I wanted to give up, and many times that I felt like I just couldn't go on, and I was like, nope. You know, I have my 2 babies that are watching, even though they're not babies, they're adults already. You know, they're watching me, and I can't give up. You know, they're watching me, and there's this song that just came out. I think it's from Lil Nas, where it says, there's a line in the song that says, never take advice from somebody who wouldn't try.
Yeah.
And that to me has that quote right there has stuck with me, because there's so many people that are like, oh, but you know, they're willing to give advice. They're willing to say, oh,
always.
You know, nobody knows what you go through. Nobody's there in your shoes except for you. And people are going to give their 2 cents. People are going to, you know, judge you. People are going to, whatever. At the end of the day, can it take advice from somebody who's not pushing, who's not bettering themselves, who's not out there, you know, getting their goals met or anything. You, at the end of the day, have to be your biggest cheerleader, because nobody else is going to do it for you. You know, so that to me is the biggest. I'm going to continue to try to meet my goals. I'm going to continue to try to be better than I was last year. Continue to, you know, push through the things that I need to push through, because at the end of the day, I have my kids watching me, and they're my biggest inspiration. They're my biggest focus. They're my biggest everything. You know, and I can't let them see their mama give up. No way. You know, no way.
Well, see, 2022 was it started out being a really difficult year, actually. We lost my mother-in-law. She passed away suddenly in just before Christmas, actually. And we'd only visited her on the Friday. Intuitively, I guess, I'd said to my husband, we need to go and see your mum, because she'd been poorly during COVID and ended up in hospital, and so she wouldn't go out. She didn't leave the house. So she you know, I ended up cutting her hair and colouring it and doing all, you know, and I'm not a hairdresser or anything, but I tried my best. But so we'd been to visit her on the Friday, and then she'd passed away by the Sunday. Thank you. Then on the Monday, my husband tested positive for COVID and was really poorly. Then my parents both tested positive in January, and Mum, she had a heart attack during COVID. So it was quite worrying, because she's got COPD, so she's, you know, got lung problems anyway.
Yeah.
That they both recovered, you know. Wow, you know, that Mum had antibiotics and it was all good. Then she fell down the stairs, top to bottom. Didn't tell us that had happened. We kind of had to figure it out for ourselves. Then she was really poorly. She had well, what we thought was a tummy bug.
Yeah.
She couldn't keep anything down. And we tried to get some help, but no, the doctors weren't interested. They just said it's a tummy bug, she'll get over it. But we knew that she wasn't okay, and I'd been researching how to put electrolytes back into your body and all this kind of stuff, just trying to get her to drink coconut water, and she just couldn't stomach it. Anyway, we managed to get in touch with a nurse somehow. I can't remember how. It was just like bam bam bam, one thing after the other.
Yeah.
And she ended up in hospital, and if she hadn't gone, her kidneys would have failed. So she was in hospital for a good 10 days. They found out that she'd got, I can't pronounce the name, but basically it's food poisoning.
Okay.
And we weren't allowed to visit her because,
you
know, the regulate, and we ended up having to speak to the sister on the ward and say, look, her mental health is suffering. It was going down. It was already, she was in shock from falling down the stairs anyway, then this tummy bug on top of it. So, you know, she just wasn't herself. And we spoke to the sister and said, look, her mental health is suffering. She really needs to have a member of family with her, you know. And they were really good. They did let her, you know, they did let my dad visit her. So that was good. So then that was all, you know, mom came out and was recovering. Then me and my husband went down with COVID again. And although we weren't too poorly, afterwards I had real terrible fatigue, brain fog. I found it difficult to like retain information. It was awful. And I remember going for a walk one day because I just thought I really just need some fresh air. And my husband was with me, and we literally got to the top of the road, and I just said, I can't go any further. I feel like I'm going to collapse. So I kind of went on a journey with, you know, reclaiming my health, and I went back to what I know has helped me in the past, and that was reflexology. That really kind of helped me to recover. And in the midst of all this, I had gone back to a life coaching course. I've been trying to get past this life coaching course for over a year, and it just, the past 2 years since 2020, it just feels like whatever could have been thrown mine and my family's way, it was literally thrown on top of COVID. It was just, And I got to 20, actually I got to December before my mother-in-law passed away, and I was just like, please God, just let 2022 be a good year. You know, I think we've had enough suffering. I think we get the message. I think we know the lessons that we need to learn. Let's just have a good year. Then all this happens. Then I'm trying to, in the middle of this, get this life coaching qualification. Ended up having to give that up again. So I kind of had to surrender a lot as well, you know, which for me has always been difficult, because I always like to be in control, know where I am, what I'm doing. So last year was a little bit about surrendering and letting go, and just kind of being guided by intuition and what you know, whatever you want to call it out there, God, source, you know, universe. So I felt like I went on a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
I did so much. I achieved so much despite everything that had happened in those first few months of 2022 and before that. But actually, I was in the shower the other day. The shower seems to be my thinking place at the moment. And I've had this dark feeling, heavy feeling, like a block following me around all of last year, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I've done all, you know, shadow work. We do all these things, don't we? And I'm in the shower, and I just said, what is this feeling? What is this heavy, dark, sad feeling that won't leave me? Grief.
Yeah.
Grief. And so I think for 2022, I think it's time to let go of that grief.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think grief ever leaves you, does it? Because, you know, there's always going to be birthdays, Mother's Day, you know, all those times of the year that revisits us. But I feel like, and you know, in that moment where that word grief came to me, it was like, you know, I don't know if when you see movies and there's like, they make it look beautiful, don't they? It's like clouds, and then you just see that one light of sun coming through the clouds. That's how it felt in the moment when I acknowledged it was grief. It was like I allowed myself to open up to feel, start feeling happiness and joy and, you know, and excitement. So I think for 2022, there are so many things that I realise now I was grieving for and about. But because I was in the midst of it, I didn't acknowledge it. So I think it's time to let go of grief. And it's time to start having fun and enjoying what 2023 is going to be all about.
Yeah, I hear that. Looking forwards rather than looking to the past and grieving over what, you know, of might have been or what you've lost, and looking to have a more positive approach to things you can achieve rather than what you lost from the previous year. So how are you doing that for this year then? Because we talk about New Year's resolutions and things like that. So how you set up this year to be more focused on what's to come or what you want to achieve?
Well, I feel after kind of having that revelation the other day, I also realised how hard I am on myself. So even when I'm having difficult times mentally, I'm still really hard on myself. And so for 2023, I think allowing self-love and just acknowledging my feelings more. You know, so even I think when we have dark feelings, we tend to want to push them away and ignore them because they're really difficult to kind of deal with. But I think what I've realized is that those are the times when we need to embrace those feelings. And it's not easy. You know, I'm not here to fluff it up. It's not unicorns and rainbows and all that jazz, you know, but it can be done. And so I feel like this year I really need to embrace self-love and compassion. And I say that because I am so hard on myself. I'm always pushing myself to be perfect in everything I do. And I've realised how that actually holds me back.
Yeah.
So I think by allowing myself to love me and be compassionate towards myself, I think that, well, it's only going to serve me well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because this year I'm going to finish my life coaching course this year. I am on the verge of qualifying as a belief coding facilitator.
It's amazing.
And yeah, so I'm gearing towards just setting up my first business, which I've been so worried about and so thinking about all the bad stuff and all the terrible stuff, when actually it's so exciting, you know, that everything that I've worked towards ever since I gave up my job in 2020, it's leading to this moment. You know, and so the reason why self-love and self-compassion comes into that is because I feel like I need to love myself towards it.
Oh, definitely.
You know, so that those times of perfectionism and self-doubt and self-criticism and self-sabotage, all the selves, you know, when they start coming in, it's like, hold on a minute, look at what you've achieved and look at where you're heading into the future. Definitely. You know, so yeah, and I'm hoping before the end of this year to also do a somatic trauma therapy course, which will involve releasing trauma from the body, you know, because as we know, we store trauma in our body, and it's something that I'm really excited about. I'm excited about everything else, but this I'm really excited about, because during lockdown I actually had a breakdown, and even though it was awful and it was, you know, I just wouldn't ever want to revisit it again, I feel like in a way it paved the way for now and what is happening now. But in that moment I was so lucky that I call these people angels. So it always seems like at that moment when you're really, really desperately, you know, you need something, just anything to help. I was really lucky in that I found a therapist that,
oh wow, that's good,
it was that person for me, and she helped me to realize that, you know, all of my mental health struggles over the past 25 years have been that the basis of that has been trauma.
Yeah.
You know, and she opened my eyes to it, and healing from it, and how to heal from it, and how it feels when you start healing from it. And so I want to be of service to other people and help other people to experience what I have experienced. So yeah, I'm just really excited about the rest of this year now and where it's all going, you know. So self-love and self-compassion is going to be play a huge part in my life this year, you know. So yeah,
that's amazing. And I just want to wish you all the best for your new business and the courses you're going to be taking up, and I hope it goes well and it's a positive and prosperous new year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Me too.
People, please like, share and subscribe to the video. And Claire, see you soon. Thank you very much.
Take care.